Chapter 1. The Ultimatum of Shadows. The neutral halls of Calith's Grand Assembly echoed with the clash of silence and expectation. The borderlands had seen many negotiations, but never one that carried so much weight. The kingdom of Veyloris, proud and sharp as a drawn blade, had sent its most formidable general, Florian Vesper, to the table. The general's name was Legend, iron-willed, battle-forged, the alpha who had broken sieges with a single command. He had the posture of a predator, even when dressed in formal ambassadorial robes of deep crimson, the emblem of the Iron Fang Legion glinting at his chest. Across from him sat the king of Noxmere, Cyrus Blackheart, a monarch cloaked in shadows and silk, radiating effortless beauty. Where Florian was steel, Cyrus was velvet. Where Florian was sharp lines, Cyrus was flowing curves of mystery. His kingdom was the strongest in the known world, its wealth rivaling the stars, its power whispered about in fearful voices. And its king, the most enigmatic of all. The assembly expected parchment and signatures. Instead, Cyrus rose from his throne, black robes sweeping like ink across the marble. His lips curved into the kind of smile that unsettled even seasoned diplomats. "General Florian Vesper," he said, voice smooth as dark wine, "your reputation precedes you, fierce, loyal, unbending. A man who would rather bleed than betray his kingdom." His eyes lingered almost hungrily. "Perfect." Florian narrowed his gaze. "If you're finished reciting ballads about me, Your Majesty, perhaps we can address the peace terms." Cyrus stepped down, closing the distance. The courtiers stirred uneasily. The king's presence was overwhelming, but his gaze was not on crowns or thrones. It was fixed solely on Florian. "There will be peace," Cyrus said at last, "but only on one condition." Florian raised a brow. "Name it." Cyrus's smile deepened, and in that moment the air seemed to tighten like a trap. "Take my permanent mark, General, and become my alpha bride. Only then shall your people know peace." The words rang across the chamber like a sword striking stone. Florian froze. For a second he thought he had misheard. Then he barked a sharp laugh, sharp as iron scraping. "Bride? You must be joking." His tone dripped with disdain as he crossed his arms. "Do I look like someone who wears silk and waits at the window for a husband?" The courtiers gasped. No one had ever dared speak to Cyrus Blackheart with such mockery. Yet the king only looked delighted. "Oh, you would look exquisite in silk," Cyrus said without hesitation. "But you don't have to wait at the window, Florian. You need only wait in my arms." Florian's jaw twitched. "This is absurd. You want me to what? Give up my command, kneel at your side, and parade around as your spouse?" "Yes," Cyrus said simply. "Exactly that." For a heartbeat, the general's fury threatened to boil over. He was the Iron Fang, conqueror of a dozen campaigns, not some prize to be claimed. Yet the weight of his people pressed on him. Veyloris could not endure another war. They were strong, yes, but Noxmere's wealth and resources far surpassed them. A drawn-out conflict would bleed his homeland dry. Cyrus knew this. His eyes gleamed with the satisfaction of a hunter cornering prey. Florian clenched his fists. "You'd hold my people hostage for your own ridiculous obsession." Cyrus tilted his head. "I would give them peace everlasting. All I ask in return is the one man I've loved for years." The chamber stilled. For the first time, Florian faltered. "Years?" "Yes." Cyrus's tone softened, though his eyes burned with dangerous intensity. "Do you want to know when it began? It was long before you stood in this hall, long before the world whispered your name in awe. I saw you once, when shadows cloaked the battlefield. You thought you were unseen. I watched you fight with fury, but then you laughed, just once. A sound, fierce, wild, alive. It was then I swore, no matter how many kingdoms stood between us, no matter how high the walls, you would be mine." The confession was madness. It was obsession. And yet it was spoken with the reverence of prayer. Florian scoffed, though his ears burned. "So all of this entire peace negotiation was just a ploy to get me into your bed?" "Not just my bed. Cyrus replied, stepping closer. My life, my throne, my eternity. You, and only you, as my bride. Florian's sarcasm flared, a shield against the suffocating intensity. You are completely insane. Perhaps, Cyrus's smile curved wider, wolfish and unrepentant. But you'll find insanity rather flattering when it adores you this much. The council was stunned, some horrified, some amused, some already whispering of the scandal. But Florian understood the truth in Cyrus's words. He had no real choice. The fate of Veyloris was chained to his decision. At last, he exhaled, sharply through his nose, as if surrendering to a fight he could not win. Fine, Florian growled. If my people's peace is bought with my freedom, so be it. But don't think for a second I'll make this easy for you, Cyrus Blackheart. Cyrus's expression lit up with shameless joy, as though Florian had just promised him heaven. Darling, he said, voice dripping with satisfaction, I would be disappointed if you did. The assembly was left in uproar, torn between laughter, shock, and awe. The greatest general of Veyloris, shackled not by war, but by a king's obsession. And in the shadows of Caelith, a story of love, madness, and a bond forged in defiance was set into motion. Chapter 2. The Bride of Noxmere. The bells of Noxmere rang for 7 days and nights, their sound echoing across mountains and seas. It was not every day that the Enigma king wed, and certainly not every day that he wed an alpha. The ceremony itself was nothing short of a spectacle. The streets of the obsidian city bloomed with crimson banners, jewel-colored silks, and perfumed petals. The palace, already infamous for its black stone towers and golden spires, was transformed into a kingdom-sized festival ground. Nobles and peasants alike gathered to witness the marriage of King Cyrus Blackheart to the infamous General Florian Vesper of Veyloris. For the people of Noxmere, their king's word was law. For the ministers, however, scandal and whispers swept through the halls like wildfire. An alpha? As the king's consort? Gasped Lord Vaith, his powdered wig nearly slipping off in shock. It defies nature. But Cyrus only smiled, like a man who had won the entire world. He took Florian's hand and paraded him through the jeweled corridors as though showing off the crown jewel of his empire. Look well upon him, Cyrus declared proudly, his voice carrying through the court. My alpha bride, the most beautiful spouse in existence. Even the gods envy me tonight. Florian, dressed in ceremonial silks, heavy with embroidery and jewels, wanted the earth to swallow him whole. His scowl alone could have cracked marble. Leaning close, he muttered under his breath, Do you want your council to die from laughing at you, Cyrus? Cyrus beamed as though it had been a compliment. Let them laugh, beloved. Their laughter cannot dim your beauty. Florian rolled his eyes so hard they nearly stuck in the back of his skull. I'm a general, not a jeweled doll. And yet, you are both, Cyrus answered smoothly, lifting Florian's hand to kiss his knuckles with infuriating tenderness. Domestic chaos. Marriage, however, was far from tranquil. On the very first night in the royal chambers, Florian attempted to claim a separate bed across the room. Cyrus simply followed like a shadow, curling himself around the alpha general with the clinginess of an overgrown cat. Your Majesty, Florian began, exasperated. Cyrus, the king interrupted lazily, nuzzling his hair. Call me Cyrus, love. Fine, Cyrus, Florian's voice sharpened. Get off. Impossible, Cyrus murmured contentedly. This is where I belong. Do you intend to suffocate me in my sleep? If that is how I die, then so be it. Death by Florian's side sounds poetic. Florian groaned into the pillow. You are the most infuriating man I've ever met. And you're the most exquisite, Cyrus whispered, pulling the covers higher around them both. Florian's struggles. Florian's life as a general had not left him suited to palace domesticity. He rose at dawn for drills despite being told it was unnecessary. He sparred with the palace guards, terrifying them with his intensity. He scolded servants for bowing too much, muttering that they were wasting time. To his surprise, Cyrus didn't stop him. Instead, the king watched with bright eyes, indulging Florian's habits with the patience of a saint, or perhaps the obsessions of a man utterly enthralled. "If my alpha bride wants to terrify the guards before breakfast," Cyrus said one morning, lounging with grapes in hand, "then who am I to say no? A beautiful spouse must have his hobbies. Breaking your soldiers isn't a hobby." "It is when you do it," Cyrus answered with a grin. "The melting of ice." Despite his irritation, Florian found himself softening, little by little. Cyrus gave him space, never pushing for consummation, never demanding obedience. Instead, he offered freedom, encouraged him to walk the markets, ride the royal stables, train as he pleased. Everywhere Florian went, Cyrus hovered nearby, sometimes at a distance, sometimes at his elbow, always with the same ridiculous gleam in his eyes. It was maddening. It was strangely comforting. For all his theatrics, Cyrus never let a single shadow fall on Florian without shielding him. When Florian returned exhausted from training, Cyrus had his bath drawn. When Florian's hands bore calluses, Cyrus massaged them himself, murmuring nonsense about their strength and beauty. "You're insane," Florian muttered more than once. "And you're perfect," Cyrus always replied. The first consummation. 3 months passed. Their days were filled with chaos, bickering, laughter, and Cyrus's endless devotion. The walls of ice around Florian's heart began to crack, though he would never admit it aloud. It was on a night of rain that Cyrus finally claimed what he had yearned for. He kissed Florian not with hunger, but with aching reverence, tracing him as though memorizing every line. "Florian?" he whispered against his throat. "May I?" For once, Florian did not push him away. His silence was permission enough. Cyrus's mark sank deep into Florian's scent gland, a permanent bond, searing and painful, something no alpha was ever meant to endure. Florian's body tensed, a growl escaping his throat. But Cyrus's pheromones enveloped him, soothing, intoxicating, drowning out the pain with overwhelming warmth. "I'm here," Cyrus murmured again and again, covering him in desperate kisses. "I'm here, beloved. Always." When it was done, Florian lay breathless, his pride wounded but his heart strangely unsteady. Cyrus, on the other hand, looked at him as though the heavens themselves had finally answered his prayers. "I told you," Cyrus whispered, holding him as if he were glass. "No silk, no jewels, no throne could compare to this moment. You are mine, Florian Vesper, mine forever." Florian, flushed and exhausted, managed only one dry, sarcastic reply: "You're still a lunatic." And Cyrus, lovesick fool that he was, only smiled as though it was the highest praise in the world. Chapter 3. Secrets in the Dark. It began subtly, like cracks in a fortress wall. At first, Florian Vesper dismissed it as exhaustion. After all, even a general-turned-alpha bride still rose before dawn to drill with guards and spar until sweat poured from his body. But soon the signs piled upon each other like an avalanche he couldn't ignore. Nausea that came in waves, dizziness during sword practice, and a strange heaviness in his body that even war campaigns had never brought him. When he fainted during a council meeting, the entire hall froze in horror. Cyrus caught him before his head touched the marble. For once, the king's lovesick smile was gone, replaced with raw terror. The diagnosis. The royal physicians were summoned immediately. They muttered, measured, and argued in hushed tones while Florian glared from the bed like a wolf ready to bite off heads. "Well," he barked, temper flaring at their hesitation, "spit it out before I lose my patience." The eldest physician swallowed hard and bowed. "Your Majesty, General Vesper, the reason for your symptoms is simple. You are with child." The chamber dropped into silence. Florian blinked once, then twice. Then he sat bolt upright, his voice thundering like a battlefield commander. "What kind of alpha gets pregnant?" He rounded on Cyrus, fury crackling in his tone. "What the hell did you do to me, Your Majesty?" Cyrus flinched at the title, as if the formality cut him more than the anger. But then, unbelievably, his lips curved into a shaky smile, eyes glassy with desperate joy. "You carry our heir," he whispered, voice trembling as though speaking a holy prayer. Florian, my beloved, you've given me a gift no crown could equal. Gift? Florian snapped, shoving him back with iron strength. I'm not supposed to be able to do this. I'm an alpha. We don't get pregnant. What sort of cursed trickery? His words choked as realization struck. His eyes narrowed dangerously. You're not an alpha, are you? The silence that followed was answer enough. The truth. Cyrus dropped to his knees, his silk robes pooling around him like ink spreading across stone. His hands trembled as he reached for Florian's. No, he confessed hoarsely. I am no alpha. I am an enigma. The last of my kind. We alone can bind alphas, can give them heirs. I wanted to tell you, but you didn't. Florian cut sharply, yanking his hand away. His voice dripped with venom. You lied to me, trapped me, marked me. And now this? The sarcasm returned, sharp and cold, his armor against the chaos in his heart. Wonderful. Truly, congratulations, Cyrus. You've managed to do what no battlefield ever could. Completely humiliate me. Cyrus bowed his head, voice breaking. I feared you would never accept me if you knew. I could not risk losing you. Not when I've already lost myself to you, Florian. Save your poetry, Florian spat, turning his back. Isolation of the beloved alpha of the Enigma. For the first time since their marriage, Florian barred the king from his chambers. He shut the doors and ordered the guards not to let Cyrus in, no matter his rank. The palace held its breath in scandalized silence. Every night, Cyrus came anyway. The Enigma king, the ruler feared across continents, knelt on the cold stone outside his alpha bride's door. Florian? His voice carried through the wood, raw with desperation. I love you. I am sorry. Please don't shut me out. Florian sat inside, arms crossed, staring into the darkness. His sarcasm whispered bitterly to the silence. The great Enigma king, reduced to a beggar outside his spouse's door. What a comedy. Yet his chest ached with every muffled plea. Court intrigue. But scandal could not remain contained to four walls. The news spread through Noxmere's court like fire on dry grass. The alpha bride was pregnant. Shock turned to whispers to schemes. Enemies of the throne, both foreign and domestic, licked their lips at the opportunity. If the alpha bride carries the heir, then he is the kingdom's weakness, one lord murmured in the shadows. Strike him, and we strike the king. Or better, another hissed, turn him against Blackheart entirely. A general of Veyloris with a child in his belly. He is the perfect dagger to plunge into the heart of Noxmere. Plots bloomed like poison vines. The lovesick king. Cyrus, oblivious to the growing threat, cared only for the closed door that separated him from the man he adored. He left food trays, letters written in his elegant hand, even gifts he thought might soften the alpha's fury, books on warfare, polished swords, armor etched with Florian's name. When servants reported back that Florian ignored them all, Cyrus merely smiled bitterly. That is fine. Let him throw them away. At least he will know I thought of him. At council, when ministers dared to criticize, Cyrus silenced them with a chilling glare. Florian is not merely my consort. He is my everything. Speak against him again, and you will not live to see another dawn. The fracture. Inside his chambers, Florian sat by the window, one hand unconsciously brushing over his abdomen. The thought twisted his insides. A child. His child. Their child. He had faced sieges, betrayals, and wounds that nearly killed him. But nothing had unsettled him more than this. And yet, Cyrus's voice echoed in his mind. The way he had looked, broken, desperate, kneeling in silken shadow, whispering like a man already damned. Florian groaned, dragging a hand down his face. What am I supposed to do with a lunatic like him? The cracks in the fortress of his heart were widening. And in the shadows of Noxmere, enemies sharpened their knives. Chapter 4. War of Hearts and Crowns. Rumors were faster than arrows. In Veyloris, whispers spread like fire across dry grass. Their great general, Florian Aldrich, had been ensnared by the infamous king of Noxmere. Some said he was bewitched, Others claimed Cyrus had forced him into an unnatural bond. Soldiers muttered in taverns, nobles whispered in council halls, and the people roared for their general's return. The Council of Veyloris declared, if Florian does not return willingly, they would march to Noxmere and take him back. Florian paced the royal chamber, his hand subconsciously resting on the swell of his stomach, 7 months heavy with child. His voice trembled with rage. You tricked me into this bond? Do you think I'll betray my people for you? His words cracked, not from lack of conviction, but from the unbearable weight pressing on both heart and body. Cyrus leaned against the marble pillar, his golden crown tilted carelessly as though mocking the seriousness of Florian's accusations. His voice, low and molten, filled the chamber. I would never ask you to betray your people, but I would burn kingdoms to ashes just to keep you, Florian, Cyrus said, eyes glowing a fierce yellow. Even if it means you'll hate me forever. Even if it means fighting against Veyloris itself. His voice dropped to a dangerous purr. No one takes my mate. No one touches what's mine. Florian flinched, not from fear, but from the raw intensity of Cyrus's possessiveness. Do you even hear yourself? You're willing to plunge 2 nations into bloodshed just because you're too stubborn to let me go? Cyrus smirked humorlessly, but the pain in his eyes were clearly visible. Let you go? Let you go. You carry our child. Do you think I'd let Veyloris snatch you away so they can parade you as their saint? No, Florian. You're mine. Theirs is only half the truth. They don't know what you've chosen. Florian's jaw tightened. Chosen. He wanted to deny it. But deep down, somewhere between the late nights when Cyrus read to him to ease his sleeplessness and the way Cyrus knelt at his bedside whispering apologies until his throat grew hoarse, he had chosen. Perhaps not at first, but now, he had. Months slipped like sand between clenched fists. Cyrus never once left Florian's side, doting on him with a kind of fierce devotion that made the court whisper in shock. The cruel, cold king who once treated affection as weakness now softened at the mere sight of Florian grimacing from swollen ankles. He barked orders at physicians, rearranged council sessions, and once, when a servant dared to joke about Florian's cravings, he had the man banished before breakfast. Overdramatic tyrant, Florian muttered one evening as Cyrus spoon-fed him broth. You say that as if it's an insult, Cyrus replied smoothly, brushing soup from his lips with a napkin. I've been called worse. Despite himself, Florian laughed. He even forgave Cyrus, reluctantly, for binding him in secrecy. For the first time in months, Florian felt something fragile and precious blooming. A peace, a family, perhaps even happiness. But beneath the warmth of those moments, a shadow lingered. He knew Veyloris would come. They always would. And he feared not for himself, but for the tiny heartbeat fluttering inside him. The Festival of Stars. Noxmere's streets lit up in gold lanterns, laughter ringing through the air. The kingdom celebrated peace, though beneath the merriment, soldiers' eyes scanned every shadow. Cyrus insisted on bringing Florian, despite his heavy belly. You shouldn't be out here, Florian muttered as he walked slowly beside Cyrus, his hand in the king's. If I trip and crush your heir under a lantern, it'll be your fault. Cyrus chuckled, brushing his thumb over Florian's knuckles. You won't. I'd catch you. I'd catch you if the world itself fell apart beneath your feet. Poetic, Florian deadpanned. Still bossy. Before Cyrus could reply, the air split with a sharp whistle. An arrow. It flew straight for Florian. Cyrus shoved him behind, his cloak flaring as he caught the arrow midair, the shaft splintering in his grip. His golden eyes ignited, glowing like a beast unleashed. Assassins, he snarled. Chaos erupted. Steel clashed in the streets, screams rose, and lanterns crashed to the ground in showers of sparks. Shadows darted across rooftops, Veylorian assassins. Florian stumbled back, clutching his stomach. His chest tightened with panic, not for himself but for the child. For their child. Cyrus was a storm unleashed. His sword sang with fury, his movements a blur of violence and precision. Every strike was born not of political duty, but primal rage. No one would touch his mate, not while breath still burned in his lungs. Cyrus, Florian called out, his voice strained. Don't kill them all. You'll only provoke. Cyrus decapitated a masked assassin before he could finish, blood spraying across the cobblestones. He turned his head, smirking grimly. Oh, forgive me, love. Was that too diplomatic of me? Florian groaned. This is exactly why people think you're a mad tyrant. Let them think it. Fear protects better than treaties. His blade skewered another attacker, golden eyes feral. And no one, not even your precious homeland, will take you from me. One assassin managed to slip past Cyrus, lunging toward Florian with a dagger. Florian raised his arm, but before steel could pierce flesh, Cyrus was there, faster than breath, breaking the assassin's neck with a sickening crack. He turned, hands trembling as he cupped Florian's face, searching for wounds. Did he hurt you? Tell me where. I'm fine, Florian whispered, his heart pounding. But our child. Cyrus's hand immediately fell to the curve of his stomach, pressing lightly as if to reassure himself. His voice cracked with something rare. Fear. They won't touch either of you, not while I live. The last assassin fled, vanishing into the night. Soldiers chased, but Cyrus didn't let go of Florian, trembling against him like a man who had almost lost everything. You see, Florian muttered, trying to lighten suffocating tension despite his own racing pulse. Overdramatic tyrant. Cyrus let out a broken laugh, forehead pressed to his. And you, reckless general. We deserve each other's madness. For a moment, amidst the blood and ruin of the festival, they stood together, war at their doorstep, a child between them, and a love that neither crowns nor kingdoms could break. But Florian's heart whispered the truth he could never ignore. Veyloris will come, and when they do, blood will drown the streets. Chapter 5. The King's Eternal Bride. The air was thick with tension. War drums echoed faintly on the horizon as Veyloris's armies gathered at the border, banners fluttering with the sigil of the Silver Lion. Noxmere's forces stood ready, black armor gleaming beneath the sun, their king at the front, a beast in human form, radiating lethal protectiveness. And between them, heavy with child, stood Florian Vesper. The great general of Veyloris, their Iron Alpha, now dressed not in battle armor but in flowing ceremonial robes Cyrus had insisted he wear, though he still managed to look more like a warrior than a bride. His sharp eyes swept over both kingdoms, his former people, his new consort's court, and the soldiers who waited for his word. Gasps rippled when the people of Veyloris saw him clearly. Their general, pregnant, their world tilted. Florian's voice carried like steel over the battlefield. You all came here seeking your general, he began, glaring at Veyloris's king Vladimir Bloodmoon. So here I am. Do I look ensnared? Do I look like a man in chains? The crowd shifted uneasily. Florian's hand rested protectively over his swollen stomach. His expression hardened. I stand here as the consort of Cyrus Blackheart, king of Noxmere. And let me make this clear to all of you. Crazy, lovesick fool though he may be, he is mine, and I am his. No one has the right to interfere in my marriage. Not his people, not my former king, not my people, no one. Cyrus, standing just behind him, nearly melted on the spot. His golden eyes glowed with adoration as if Florian had just handed him the moon. Do you see yourself? Florian muttered sideways, glaring at him. Stop grinning like an idiot before you start drooling in front of the entire army. Cyrus only smiled wider. But Florian wasn't done. He turned back to the armies, his voice sharp enough to slice through the rising murmurs. The peace treaty was what brought me here. It is what I choose willingly, what I bled for, what I married for, what I carry this child for. And if any of you, think to destroy that peace, then hear me now. If my unborn child suffers because of your stubborn pride, you will face not just the wrath of Noxmere's king, but mine. The world seemed to hold its breath. Even Noxmere's soldiers stared at him in awe, unused to seeing their icy general lose his composure. Florian's eyes narrowed, pinning the king Vladimir like a dagger. You claim to want me back. Then explain to me, why send assassins after me and my child? Gasps tore through the Veyloran ranks. King Vladimir stepped forward, his face pale with shock. Assassins. Florian, I swear on Veyloris's honor. We never ordered your death. We came to reclaim you, not kill you. The weight of his words struck hard. For a moment, silence reigned. Then Florian laughed bitterly. Then someone has been playing both sides, he said, his sarcasm sharp as a blade. How wonderful. Nothing says peace. Like mysterious daggers aimed at my throat. He swayed slightly, breath catching. Immediately, Cyrus's arms were around him, steadying him. Golden pheromones slipped into the air, blanketing the crowd in calm submission, though everyone could see it was Florian, not Cyrus, who held the power in this moment. At last, Florian raised his chin. Enough. I've chosen. War ends here or not at all. Let this peace be sealed not with ink, but with our bond. Annoying, ridiculous, lovesick fool though he may be, he is mine, and I am his. For once in history, neither kingdom could argue, and one by one both sides bowed. Later, in the shadows of the throne room, Cyrus stood in silence, gazing down at bloodied hands. Every last conspirator who had raised steel against Florian was dead. He had made sure of it personally. His smile was serene, as he whispered to himself, "No one touches what is mine." Months later, the birth. Florian's screams echoed through the palace halls. Cyrus paced like a wild beast outside the chamber, threatening every physician within an inch of their life. "If he feels even a moment of pain, I'll gut you alive," Cyrus snarled, his voice cracking with panic. From inside, Florian's furious shout cut through. "Cyrus Blackheart, if you don't shut up and stop hovering like a mother hen, I'll make sure this child's first words are, 'My father is a lunatic.'" The physicians nearly choked on their laughter, while Cyrus immediately pressed his ear to the door, frantic. "Florian, love, do you want me to come in? Come in here, and I swear you'll leave without your head." Hours stretched like days until finally, cries. The cry of a child, piercing and beautiful. The doors opened. Cyrus stumbled inside, his heart in his throat. On the bed, sweat-drenched and exhausted but alive, Florian cradled a tiny infant wrapped in silk. His sarcasm was weak but present. "Well, congratulations. You've officially made me fat, hormonal, and a father. Happy now?" Cyrus collapsed at his side, tears spilling down his face as he kissed Florian's hand over and over. Then his gaze fell on the baby, dark hair like Florian's, golden eyes like Cyrus's. "A son," the physician whispered, "Prince Lucian Blackheart Vesper." Cyrus reached trembling arms to take the child, but only after Florian rolled his eyes and shoved him gently. "Don't drop him, idiot." Cyrus held Lucian as though he held the universe, then pulled both his mate and son into his arms, his voice breaking. "You were always my destiny, Florian. My eternal bride, my general, my everything." Florian sighed, resting his head against Cyrus's chest. "Obsessive fool. But I suppose you're mine too." And so, under one roof, the two kingdoms found peace not through bloodshed, but through a bond that defied tradition, shattered pride, and redefined love. Noxmere and Veyloris flourished together, no longer rivals but bound by the legacy of the most unexpected union in history. An overprotective king, a sharp-tongued general, and the child who carried the strength of both.